Hi everyone, this is Natalie again. So we've got another special session where we're talking with Emily, who's come all the way from North Carolina. I couldn't remember if it was north or south. It's north, right?
Yes.
Great. So yeah, let's start.
So I wanted to start out with a quote for something I wrote, and it goes kind of like this. I was born in a world that ain't built for me. I think about the way I could see. I wish you could see the things that I see. And another one I have written is, even though I can't see doesn't mean I can't be seen. Even though I can't hear doesn't mean I can't be heard. And when my hands are gone doesn't mean I can't feel the love that you have for me.
Thank you, Emily. So I already feel like I know you a little bit because we had dinner last night and we went to the social event, but maybe not everyone got to speak to you. So would you like to just share a little bit about you?
So I'm from North Carolina, which is on the East Coast. I have a degree in outdoor leadership, as well as a Bachelor's of Art degree, and right before COVID, I recently graduated with my massage therapy degree with a concentration in neuromuscular therapy.
And so we also had a pre-interview Zoom chat before, and we spoke a bit about your journey with being diagnosed with Bardet-Biedl syndrome. Would you like to share a bit about that?
Sure. So I was diagnosed around 1990. And it was pretty much pure chance by luck. A lot of people get misdiagnosed with, typically with RP, because it's very similar. Fortunately, I went to the ophthalmologist, and he was pretty sure I had RP, and he wanted to get it confirmed. And he was just recently out of his residency, and he had a colleague, which is down in Atlanta, Georgia, at Emory Hospital. And so I went down there to see her, and it just happened to be that she had read an article in a magazine about BBS, and she had mentioned this to my mom, so they did a lot of testing down there. And I actually was genetically tested, which I was unaware of this. At that time, they couldn't isolate genes or anything, but so I was fortunate that I got diagnosed correctly. I was also diagnosed with RP, which I do not have, which I found out several years ago.
How would you say that having BBS affects you daily?
Well, I wasn't really affected by BBS until probably about 10 years ago. I had a fairly normal upbringing. I did everything my siblings did. But over the past 10 years, it has affected me in the sense I'm used to doing the most simplest tasks ever. And it is completely frustrating when if I can't do things on my own, and I'm one of these stubborn people that I don't ask for help when but I've been working on that, because knowing that just because you ask for help, we all need to ask for help at one time or another, and it doesn't mean that you're weak. It just means you just need to ask for help. But simple like things I'm having to learn now. And I'm having to sharpen my skills. For example, coming over here, I don't really have any cane skills. I do now, though, but I had to prepare for that, and it's just because I didn't start using cane a couple months before I went to go get my first dog guide, and I've had her, and unfortunately, that's a very long story why she's not here, but she's being looked after very well.
Yeah, so you were supposed to be able to bring your guide dog over with you, and then it was a bit of a shock last minute that you weren't able to. So we spoke last night about how, you've been needing to use your cane more, and about your expectations of your vision and how that changed. Do you want to speak a bit about that?
Sure. So I showed up here, and I was and Tanya and Stefan met me at the airport. And I was going through the train station, I was like, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And so I still have quite a bit of vision. So I eventually, what took about 2 days to get to my accommodation in Edinburgh, that's where I first started. The next day, I went out of my cottage, and there was a little cafe on the corner, and I realized that I really don't have as much useful sight as I thought I did. And it was, but at the same time, you know, I could have fallen apart. I could have just given up, but I made this trip because I needed to figure things out. I've always lived with sighted people. Growing up, there was not anyone within 200 miles of me that was visually impaired. I've always grown up in a sighted world, and I've always had sighted people around, so I don't know what it's like to do daily things as a blind person or visually impaired, not relying on others. It's not normal to me because I've had sight for so long, and but it's made me grown, and the information that I receive that I really don't have as much sight as I thought I did, I use that information as an advantage, and I looked at it in a way that this is very helpful and useful because now I realize that my memory is playing a much larger role in my sight, and I never would have found that out if I hadn't come here on my own. And my partner wanted to come with me, and I know he wouldn't have wanted to interfere, but here's the thing. He would have interfered, even not intentionally doing it, just because him being physically present there and having sight. I mean, you just can't. It's just the natural thing to do.
So we also spoke last night about the difference in availability of visually impaired support in the UK compared to America. And you've been not only here, you've been to Scotland. That's where you've just come from.
Yes.
How has your experience been with, say, using public transport and support you might have had while traveling?
Pretty much it's like having the red carpet rolled out for you. I feel like I've been treated like I get better service over here than I do in the States, honestly. Like it's amazing. Everyone has been very, very generous. You know, I had to put a lot of things in place before, and sometimes when you plan things, they don't always turn out the way you want. And no, it's not fun, and I'm sure it can be stressful, regardless, visually impaired or not, even for sighted people. I'm sure it can stress them out too, as well. And I know I've just always been a survivor, and I mean, you got two choices. You can pick yourself up, you can figure out a plan, just put one foot forward, which is kind of the way I've lived my life. I figure it out. When you cross that bridge, you'll figure it out. And one of the things is about getting accessibility is, and I learned this from my friend in Scotland, is being direct, like telling people what you need. And that's still something I struggle with, just because I'm transitioning over into not having to do those things. And that's kind of what this trip is about. It's forcing me to have to do those things, have to ask for assistance. And it's not easy.
I had a question about your sort of broader support system. Mm-hmm. What role has family, friends, or the broader community played in your journey with BBS? I started working on this months ago. So last year at the conference, I met Stefan, and I was like, well, if he can travel abroad by himself, I can too. Because I've traveled abroad. I've lived in many different countries, but that was a different time. I was, pretty much fully sighted, so I didn't need all of these extra accommodations and things. So I started having conversations months and months ago about this, and just really asking a lot of questions, as well as my friends in Scotland. I learned a lot of things about not just dogs, but rules as well, about being visually impaired, and what the access is like. Just things about how getting around, because we don't have a lot of public transportation where I come from. It's really putting a support
network in place for you. You know, and I mean, like I said, you know, my plans didn't work out, but that's okay, because having backup plans, you know, and having, you know, learning about new apps, like I've been using WhatsApp, which is fantastic. It's super easy, but I set up a group for my family and friends. So when I get to a destination, all I have to do is put a message on there, and they're 5 hours behind us, but they'll check it and they'll put a message. So that's one thing that's helpful, just staying in contact with people. And I also have a friend who has BBS, and his mom actually was on my flight because she works for the flight company, and they've done a lot of international flying. And one of the things was, before I went, he was like, you better check with your service provider. And it's a good thing I did, because that could have been a disaster. But
your mobile service?
Yes,
right,
yes,
okay.
yes. Or a very large
phone,
bill,
as you would say.
Yeah. Yes.
So last night in the adult social, we were talking about things we want to do in the future. Some people mentioned going abroad, learning new skills, and you mentioned something about Braille that I thought was interesting. Would you like to share about learning?
Yeah, so I finally came to this point. They tried to force me to learn Braille as a young child, and of course I said no. I grew up in a very small town. Everybody knows everybody. But eventually, it was probably around not too long after COVID, and the way our service is, so we have different, I don't have the Lighthouse. Each state is kind of different. So if you've heard of the Lighthouse for the Blind, certain states like Florida, I think they have it. We have services for the blind. But I live in the mountains, which is very rural area. I live in a very small city. And so it's difficult you don't have someone coming in on a weekly basis or whatever to give you lessons. So come to find out, there was a lady who was a Braille teacher, and we learned Braille over the phone. We did it because they did not want to get the chance of getting COVID because it could possibly kill them. So basically, her husband was sighted, so they would drop my lessons off and hang them on my doorknob, and we would meet over the phone once a week. And the first way we started out was, she's like, this is going to sound ridiculous, right? But she's like, get a muffin tin and get a set of ping pong balls. You know, you can just go to the dollar store and get some. And so we did like 2 to 3 letters a week. And then once we worked our way through the alphabet, then we did numbers. And so it just kind of progressed. I did that for a couple years, and it actually gave me a lot more independence.
So I have a question about what you wish people understood about having a visual impairment or having BBS. It's quite a big question.
Right. I guess.
So I don't think I asked you this before. So.
No. I just there's so much. Like, I think it's you know, I was thinking about listening to all the talks today and about. And I had a long conversation with my brother before I left. It was probably a couple days, because I was pulling my hair out because there were a lot of things that happened about my dog, other things that were not put in place and were not clear. And he had mentioned, he's like, you know, I kind of have an idea of what it's like for you, because he's like, I take my contacts and my glasses out, and it's like I can't see at all. And I told him, I was like, well, that's kind of good. You know, you kind of have that idea, but people will never really know unless they go through it themselves. And I mean, it kind of gives them an idea, but the thing is that we can't just put contacts in. We can't just put glasses on. And, you know, my vision has been deteriorating, and it's scary, and it's a grieving process. Every time it happens, you grieve, because we want to hold on to what we have left. And you just want to hold on to those moments as long as possible. But I look at it this way, I'm thankful for the vision that I have. And also, I use my vision to an advantage. in the sense, there are things that I never would have discovered about myself if my vision had not started deteriorating. Like I found out that I started riding horses in like 2010, 2011 when I couldn't kayak anymore. I fell in love and I got an art degree in ceramics. And to be able to find a passion and love, it's very rare. So if it wasn't for my vision, I don't think I ever would have had those experiences. And I've just learned to, what my brother says is, you have to embrace the suck, embrace your failures. It's a history thing, and yeah, it's tough, but you know, you have two choices. You get up and you fight against life every day, which is not easy, or you can just sit there and let life pass you by.
Thank you for sharing that. Sorry. So you mentioned some of the hobbies that you do, ceramics, you've done horse riding. What other things do you do day to day to, you know, make life good?
So I belong to a center, so I swim about a quarter mile, 2 to 3 times a week. Swimming for me is a way to just kind of get out of your head, release, kind of like what people who are runners. I'm a swimmer. I play guitar, and I go to a lot of parks. I do a lot of hiking and camping, and then my partner and I, we purchased a tandem bike a couple years ago off of my friend, and so we actually were able to get a bike ride in before we left. So that was been my first bike ride this year, and it was about 5 miles. So those are some of the things.
So you've come all the way from America to come to our BBS UK conference. Mm-hmm. What motivated you to travel all of that way and to share the weekend with us?
Well, so in 2008, I lived in Ireland, and I kind of kicked myself not for going to Scotland. And I was like, well, there's this BBS conference, so I could kind of like go to this and do this, but also like make a holiday, because if you travel abroad from the States, you want to travel as much as possible once you get over here, because it is a lot cheaper. It is very, yeah. And I think traveling, one of the things, I feel like losing my vision. There are parts of me that I was trying to get back to, parts of my personality that I felt like I was losing because my vision was changing and I'm changing as a person. And one of those things I feel like I've actually gotten back, because even though I did tremendously, like I can navigate these trains like nobody's business, like, but the fact is that, you know, just talking to people, just people I don't even know, just people being nice. And that's I love traveling and meeting people and learning about them, and that's something that always like fascinates. And I kind of felt I got that old part of myself back.
Is there a particular, I don't know, message or a takeaway you would like the audience to think about? Again, I guess, big question.
I think the most important things to be successful, you need to have a support network, regardless if it's for school. And I had to learn all of these things the hard way. I didn't have Facebook groups. I didn't have no BBS things. Like everything I had to do, I had to, like my sister help, but we had to figure this all out for ourselves. There's no support when you live in small areas. And I think one of the things that I see time and time again is I build a support network for myself. That is one of the most, I think, important things to have, to use them as a sounding board and, you know, really networking. But also, it seems like I've been listening today, and it seems like, you know, a lot of people are really struggling living with BBS. And I would say try to don't want to really say look on the bright side, but, but think about how you can use your situation as an advantage, because we all have limitations, we all have different situations. And so for me, for example, I was at the top of my class in massage therapy, and it was because of my vision. I use it to my advantage, because when you're working on somebody, you can't use your vision. It's all about feel, it's all about touch. And it's something I couldn't teach any of the other students in class, but it also made things easier for me at the same time. So that I had a huge advantage over everyone who was sighted.
So I think we've got some time for questions, if you're happy to answer any, Emily. Is that okay?
Sure.
Great.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything they would like to ask Emily about living with BBS or coming from the States? Anything online? Oh, yes. Oh, I know this face.
Hi, Emily. It's Tonya. So Emily mentioned earlier that Steph and I met Emily at Heathrow, and the task was to guide her across to... Which station was it that we...
I think we got off at Sub Pancras and we had to go to King's Cross.
King's Cross, that's right. So the task was to get Emily to King's Cross, and then she was off up to Edinburgh to go travelling. And I am a mother of an adult with BBS, and I'm overprotective, aren't I, Dan?
Oh, I wish you...
The task was to take Emily to the station, and the detail that was missing, because Emily assured me that she'd done all of this travelling all over the world. So I was like, okay, this is fine, we can do this, and I can drop Emily off and go home and actually sleep. But she neglected to tell me that all of that travelling had been done when she was sighted. Thank you for not sharing that then, because I don't think I'd have slept since. The question is, how did you find Edinburgh?
How did I what? Sorry.
How did you find Edinburgh? Did you enjoy it?
I did. It was, they were super helpful. Actually, there was one thing, and I had someone call on behalf of me, but when I got to Haymarket, by the way, the assistance is not great at Haymarket or Waverley. The guy was standing on the platform to get me assistance, and because even when I got on the train, they're like, oh, like just the people who were riding the train were super helpful and nice. And there was this couple, and her boyfriend was like shouting at the guy. He was just standing there like totally oblivious. But those two stations, I was told that it's not, there tend to be issues. So I had to go all the way down to Silver City and then come back. And keep in mind, I was traveling from the day before. I left my house at 10:15 in the morning. But the thing is like when things happen like that, I think with BBS, we tend to react. And maybe it might have been because I was so exhausted, but like I wasn't upset. I was like, I just really want to get to my place. So I had an extra hour and like 15 minutes added on to my journey from the day before. But they were all apologetic. They did not, actually I believe I got reimbursed for my train ticket as well. I had to send them an email, but everyone was really nice, and I had to learn very quickly, just, asking for help when I needed it. But I got treated so well. Like people really just went out of their way. The same when I was in York, same when I was in Manchester. Not saying that in the States people don't offer, they do. But I noticed in Scotland, they kind of ask you for help, whereas in the States, they just kind of offer their help and don't tell you what they're doing always. It's kind of like, oh, here, let me help you, and then come grab your arm, which is... But I noticed that. Over here is like people actually, it's more like they talk to you like you're a person, and they don't just come in, which is actually really nice because it's more respectful, and that's a huge thing for me is respect. Asking someone what they need, then assuming what they need.
Thank you so much, Emily, for sharing. I think there were lots of really amazing, inspirational things we could all take away, regardless of whether we've got BBS or not. So thank you so much for joining us. and you're around for the rest of the evening, is that right?
Yes.
Would you like people to come and talk to you?
Sure. I would love to. That's what I'm here. That's what I like to do. It's my superpowers, networking.
Great, thank you so much.